Falling in love is very likely the most common trope in fiction, and this makes sense considering most people experience this at one point in their lives. The overwhelming feeling of love can be a great way to push a plot forward and make characters do some ridiculous things. So this means we're going to talk about the focal point of that affection. The love interest. From your girl next door to Prince Charming, everyone's taste in romantic partners varies drastically. So like with the sidekick video, our archetypes today will be explained by comparing them to their most common heroic counterparts. So with that being said, I made the love interest spectrum to explain every love interest ever, probably. Remember the golden rule of these videos. There's always going to be overlap with any example I give. And if you happen to think of any characters I should have listed, you can always comment them down below. Starting in the top right corner, we have the true love. This is where our soulmates go, your destined partner, and everything out of a Disney movie. So this pairs well with our classical hero. The idea of the true love rests on the concept that there's one singular person who completes you, tied together by the red string of fate. But in being so absolute, it actually ends up being self-defeating. If things don't work out, we may reason that's because they weren't your true love, instead of an issue with compatibility. Now, fictional stories that use this trope are probably not willing, nor are they made to explore that kind of complicated question. But we have to be careful that we don't get caught up thinking that there will only ever be one person made for us. Love doesn't need to be predestined for it to be true. Examples include Cinderella and Prince Charming, Shrek and Fiona, and Fry and Leela. Next is the One, short for one of a kind. The One is a character who has had significant effect on our hero by being their equal, or in being their opposite, which makes a change in both of their developments. By holding each other accountable, or showing them new perspectives, they grow to understand one another better. We see this a lot in tropes like opposites attract. There's something cathartic about seeing differences being accepted in the name of love. Sometimes the One is someone who the hero is no longer with, or never entered an official relationship with. So think of the one that got away. Typically in these cases, the pair were together while our hero was not quite ready for everything that entails. So a common story could also be the hero learning to better themselves to be with the One. Your mileage may vary, as this can unfortunately set up the One to be a prize to be earned, which has some baggage to unpack. Examples include Wade and Ember, Percy and Annabeth, and Ruby and Sapphire. To the left, we have the Distress. Named after the damsel in distress, this type doesn't always have to be a woman, though that's what we most commonly see. This love interest is in a state of perpetual peril. When we see them leave the screen, we can only imagine the events taking place that will inevitably set them back up to get captured again. Now, while the One can unintentionally be set up to objectify a character, that's pretty much the whole purpose of the Distress. Some methods to get around this could be by making the Distress grow to be capable like the One, or they can make the hero's rescue more of a collaborative effort than a one-sided mission. Even seeing the Distress and the hero having a conversation about the risk of being together can make it so this problem isn't swept under the rug. Examples include Peach, Lois Lane, and MJ. Back to the right is the lover, the passionate partner of the romantic hero. This is someone devoted to them and wants them to achieve their goals or dreams, which many times can be similar to their own, commonly introduced with love at first sight. This archetype is characterized by its carnal desire. While someone like the One wants your betterment, the lover wants you, the best you've ever had type of scenario. There's a certain spark to romances of this variety, most times short-lived, but always a rush. However, in the long term, do these kinds of romances stack up to the consistency of a stable partner? Some may not agree, and that causes some problems. Ultimately, the type of attraction felt at the start of a young relationship is not the same that's necessary to have something that will stand the test of time, but it does make for some nice memories. Examples include Jack and Rose, Anna and Christian Grey, and Jay Gatsby and Daisy. To the left is the crush. This is the person you see every day at work or in class. This one, as with the idea of the everyman, is very relatable and a staple part of adolescence and young adulthood, usually initiated with some kind of meet cute or cute and awkward encounter that introduces the pair. Stories featuring a crush can be used to convey the awkward drama of high school romance, or the effects of puberty on the mind. We also see that love triangles reside here. These typically culminate with the after-school confession that tends to be rejected. We have to be mindful that it seems that the reason tends to be the same. While you may have been playing out the memories in your mind of the subtle moments you shared, the crush may have never considered the romantic implications of those situations. This tends to happen for younger characters, but this can occur among older ones as well. It does seem in many cases that crushes can really manifest themselves as a powerful yet skewed appreciation of someone else. But it really is better to let them know when those feelings first emerge, rather than to bottle them away until they explode. Who knows? After the dust settles, you might find yourself the opportunity to really get to know them better. Examples include Jim and Pam, Amity and Luce, and Archie and Veronica, or Archie and Betty, depending on preference. Far left is the support. This romantic interest gives much needed assurance to the reluctant hero. We can see this through their physical touch, or their ability to talk the hero through an inner struggle. They can view deeper into the hero than other characters can, maybe even further than what the hero currently can. Supports typically speak from experience, and are level-headed in emotionally vulnerable scenarios, though there are variations that give a tough love approach to affirming emotions. Both still come from a place that values what the hero is feeling, rather than something the support needs from them. However, if we're not careful, this partnership may become one-sided, and the support may end up bearing the weight of the hero's pain and their own. Examples include Rocky and Adrian, Steven and Connie, and Gomez and Morticia. At the bottom right corner is the star-crossed. The doomed lovers of this archetype take the name out of Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet. Partners here can have a passionate romance like the lover, but their love is not able to last and must come to an end, in a much more dramatic fashion, as tragedies like to do. For alternative takes, one can mirror certain real-life relationships that seem cursed from the beginning. No matter what one tries to do, it doesn't seem to work. There's something that keeps getting in the way of the pair being together. This bad luck is usually attributed to something outside of either's control, where people may leave due to problems in the relationship itself. It seems that fate, or some other force, causes both parties to leave with neither being solely to blame. Examples include Romeo and Juliet, Augustus and Hazel, and Mia and Sebastian. To the left is the old flame, the ex, former partner, or situationship that took place long ago. Someone the hero thought they'd never see again fills them with all the emotions they had forgotten. The old flame represents change in a similar way to the catalyst. Most of the other archetypes could become this one over time, though my bet is on the one or the lover returning. Their return becomes an opportunity to rekindle past romance, or it becomes the means to acknowledge their transgressions and move forward. This is especially seen if the pair has to work together. With it being so long, both sides might not remember every single detail of their time together. Likely it's only the bad things. But on occasion, you can have a scenario where one has already forgiven the other, which gives room for closure. That being said, this trope can add a layer of drama if either side is already with someone else, which puts more tension between the pair as they reconnect. Examples include Princess Bubblegum and Marceline, Ant-Man and the Wasp, and Johnny and Sonia. Finally, we have the danger. If the old flame is any of your exes, this is the big one, the toxic one, or it can be any romantic interest that the hero knows is bad for them. If a sympathetic villain is romantically involved with a hero, this is where they would end up. The danger carries caution tape and is waving every red flag they can carry, though some people may find that idea appealing. Anti-heroes need love too, but that love might come at the cost of trust. In the midst of this chaos, there does seem like a small desire for both to be better. That feeling that despite the harm done, maybe they can change. However, this likely results from the mind's tendency to justify time spent through the sunk cost fallacy. Just because you've spent a long time with the person doesn't mean you can't leave them, but part of the pain is admitting that you made a mistake. There was an error in your judgment, and that frustration can cause us to say in something that might not be worth it. Everyone can change, but that doesn't mean that everyone wants to. Examples include Batman and Catwoman, Ramona and Gideon, and Heathcliff and Kathy. After looking through our love interests, we see all types that take up the landscape of romantic experiences. When I described all the categories, did any of them remind you of examples of your favorite love interests or personal experiences? Do you feel there might be some archetypes I missed along the way? In exploring these, we might start to question some of our own decisions and why exactly we want to be with who we want to be with. Maybe you want someone emotionally available, like the support. Maybe you want the passionate romance of the lover. Or you're a hopeless romantic and want to believe in the idea of soulmates, like the true love. No matter your preferences for love, the stories we tell are based off cultural ideas and experiences of what we understand the emotion to be. As we keep enjoying media that celebrates who we all are and how we feel, we grow to appreciate the feeling of love more and more. If you liked the video, please leave a like and subscribe. And as always, thanks for watching.